The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before the HSS Thunderchild as it moved silently through the darkness, its polished hull catching and reflecting the light of distant stars. The massive warship represented humanity's proudest achievement in space exploration, a perfect blend of power, technology, and elegance. Captain Jaho Park maintained his usual calm demeanor as he stood on the bridge, though his heart swelled with pride every time he took command of this remarkable vessel. His experienced eyes carefully studied the tactical displays while his crew worked efficiently at their stations around him. After 20 years in the Earth Space Force, he had earned the right to command humanity's most advanced ship, even if their patrols often proved uneventful. The bridge crew went about their normal routines, monitoring systems, running diagnostics, and keeping watch over the vast sector of space they had been assigned to patrol. No one expected this day to be any different from countless others spent mapping the outer reaches of known space. Lieutenant Hae-Im Lee sat at her sensor station, methodically scanning their surroundings as she had done hundreds of times before. But something made her pause and lean forward, adjusting the sensitivity of her instruments. Her eyes widened as unusual energy readings appeared on her screen. "Captain," she called out, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of bridge operations. Multiple energy signatures detected ahead. The configurations, they don't match anything in our database. Captain Park moved quickly to her station, studying the readings himself. "Can you get a visual?" "Attempting to now, sir." Lieutenant Lee's fingers flew over her console as she adjusted the long-range cameras. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a scene that made everyone on the bridge freeze in place. 3 massive vessels of clearly alien design moved through space with predatory grace. Their hulls were dark and angular, covered in what appeared to be weapons arrays. But it was their target that drew gasps from the crew. A smaller ship with elegant, almost organic lines that seemed to glow with its own inner light. The 3 dark ships surrounded the glowing vessel, herding it like wolves circling wounded prey. Occasional bursts of energy flared between them, the smaller ship clearly trying to escape, but being methodically cut off at every turn. "Sir," Lieutenant Lee reported, her voice tight with tension, "I'm picking up energy readings consistent with weapons fire. The larger ships appear to be attacking the smaller vessel." Captain Park's jaw tightened as he watched the unfolding scene. Any response to standard hailing frequencies? Communications Officer Taiwan Kim shook his head. "Nothing, sir." "Wait, I'm picking up a transmission from the smaller vessel. It's a distress call, sir. Universal broadcast on all frequencies." The bridge speakers crackled with an otherworldly voice speaking in an unknown language, but the fear and desperation in it needed no translation. In the background, they could hear what sounded like children crying. "Analysis?" Park asked sharply. "The attacking vessels match no known configurations, but based on their tactics and weapons signatures, they appear to be warships," reported Tactical Officer Min Seo-yoon. "The smaller vessel's design suggests civilian transport. Minimal weapons, mainly defensive systems. Sir, I'm detecting life signs aboard. Many of them read as juveniles." Captain Park stood straight, his decision already made. Humanity's first contact with alien civilizations would not be as passive observers to an act of violence against children. "Battle stations," he ordered, his voice firm and clear. "Shield status." "Shields at full power, sir," responded Yoon. "Weapons." "All systems ready, Captain." Park nodded grimly. "Plot an intercept course. We will not stand idle while innocents suffer." The Thunderchild's engines flared to life as the massive warship accelerated toward the conflict. As they drew closer, they could see more details of the attacking vessels. Their hulls bore markings that seemed to radiate menace, sharp angles and aggressive patterns that matched their predatory behavior. "Sir," Lieutenant Lee called out, "I'm receiving identification signatures now. The attackers are broadcasting their allegiance to something called the Krath Empire. The civilian vessel appears to belong to a species known as the Lumini. The craft vessels are powering up their main weapons, Yoon reported tensely. They're preparing to fire on the civilian ship. Not today, Park said quietly. Then louder. Target their weapons arrays. Warning shots first. Let's show them we mean business. The Thunderchild's advanced targeting systems locked onto the nearest craft vessel. With surgical precision, a burst of energy lanced out from the human warship, passing just meters from the alien vessel's main gun emplacement. The effect was immediate. All three craft ships broke off their attack on the Lumini vessel, turning their attention to this new threat. Their communication channels suddenly came alive with angry transmissions in an alien language. They're demanding our immediate withdrawal, Kim translated as the computer began to decode the alien language. They claim this is Krath Empire territory, and we are interfering in an authorized enforcement action. Send them this message, Park ordered. This is Captain Jai-Ho Park of the Earth vessel Thunderchild. We cannot allow the attacking of civilian vessels, especially those carrying children. Withdraw immediately, or we will be forced to take defensive action. The Krath response came in the form of weapons fire. Energy beams lanced out from all three vessels toward the Thunderchild. But humanity's flagship had not been idle in its years of preparation for potential first contact. Adaptive shield holding, Yoon reported calmly. Their weapons technology is advanced, but our defensive systems are compensating for the energy signatures. Return fire, Park ordered. Disable their weapons but avoid critical systems damage. Let's show them what humanity can do. The Thunderchild moved with grace that belied its size, its advanced propulsion systems allowing it to outmaneuver the larger craft vessels. Its weapons struck with precision, targeting weapons arrays and propulsion systems while carefully avoiding vital areas. One by one, the craft ships found themselves partially disabled, unable to maintain their attack. The Thunderchild's superior technology and tactics had turned the tide in minutes without taking a single life. The craft vessels are powering down their remaining weapons, Lee reported. They're withdrawing, sir. As the dark ships limped away, the Lumini vessel approached the Thunderchild. Their transmission carried a very different tone, one of gratitude and wonder. Captain, Kim said, smiling, the Lumini are thanking us. They say no one has ever stood up to the Krath Empire before. They're asking permission to dock so they can thank us in person. Captain Park looked around at his proud crew, knowing that this moment would change everything. Humanity had just announced its presence on the galactic stage, not through words, but through actions, defending the innocent and standing up against bullies. Grant them permission to dock, he ordered, and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them first contact has been made, and humanity has made its choice about what role we'll play in the galaxy. The Thunderchild's first battle had lasted less than 15 minutes, but its impact would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. As Captain Park prepared to meet their first alien visitors, he knew that everything would be different from this moment forward. Humanity had revealed itself not as conquerors or victims, but as protectors, and the galaxy would never be the same. The grand chambers of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from over 300 species gathered for an emergency session. The massive circular hall, with its soaring crystal dome showing the stars above, had never felt so tense. Whispers and murmurs echoed through the chamber as Elder Counselor Min-Ki Choi took his place at the central podium. Choi stood tall despite being physically shorter than many of the alien representatives. His simple Earth diplomatic uniform stood in stark contrast to the elaborate robes and ceremonial dress of the other council members. Behind him, a massive holographic display flickered to life, showing the now famous footage from the Thunderchild's encounter. The assembled council members watched in stunned silence as the scene played out. The human warship's graceful maneuvers, its precise targeting, and most importantly, its merciful approach to combat left many shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Several representatives of warrior species leaned forward, their eyes fixed on the tactical display with keen interest. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, Choi began, his voice clear and steady. 3 standard weeks ago, a human vessel encountered Krath Empire warships attacking a Lumini civilian transport. What you have just witnessed is how humanity chooses to introduce itself to the galactic community. A ripple of conversation swept through the chamber. The Krath representative, a tall figure in black armor, stood abruptly. This is an outrage. These primitives interfered with official Krath Empire business. Their actions are an act of war. Choi remained calm, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Interesting that you should call us primitives. Our sensors recorded your ship's attempts to scan the Thunderchild's capabilities. Tell me, how many of your scanning beams penetrated our hull? The Krath representative's silence was answer enough. The species you deemed too primitive to contact has been watching, learning, and preparing, Choi continued. We combine technologies in ways you never imagined possible. While you watched our early space flights and dismissed us as backward, we were studying every scrap of alien technology that fell to Earth. Every crashed scout ship, every lost probe. We learned from them all. The holographic display shifted to show technical readouts of the Thunderchild. Our adaptive shield technology combines Zelvan phase shifting with Moraxian energy distribution principles. Our propulsion system merges antimatter drives with concepts we discovered in a crashed Prel scout ship. But the true innovation lies in how we brought these elements together. An elder Zelvan counselor rose slowly. You claim to have merged our phase shield technology with Moraxian systems. That's impossible. The energy patterns are completely incompatible. Impossible. Choi raised an eyebrow. Perhaps that's why we succeeded where others failed. We didn't know it was impossible, so we found a way to make it work. The chamber erupted in discussion as various technical experts among the counselors debated the implications. Choi waited patiently for the noise to settle before continuing. But our technology is not why I stand before you today. I am here because of a more serious matter. The display changed to show a map of known space, with various species territories marked in different colors. For centuries, you have maintained a policy of non-contact with developing species. You watch from orbit as civilizations struggle to reach the stars, offering no help, no guidance, no protection. He pointed to several areas where Krath territory bordered smaller, weaker nations. How many species have you watched fall to aggressive empires? How many civilizations have been enslaved or destroyed while this council debated the proper protocols for intervention? The Lumini representative, a being of softly glowing light, floated forward. The human speaks truth. For decades, we have suffered Krath aggression. Our appeals to this council were met with sympathy but no action. Yet when our children were in danger, humanity acted without hesitation. More representatives began to rise, each sharing similar stories. The Krath Empire's expansion had been a source of concern for many, but the council's complex political balance had prevented any meaningful response. Humanity does not ask permission to help those in need, Choi declared. We do not need your approval to defend the innocent. The Thunderchild's actions were not a mistake or a violation of protocol. They were a declaration of principle. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. A new power had emerged, one that didn't play by the established rules. We come before this council not to ask for membership, but to offer partnership, Choi continued. Earth is establishing a mutual defense alliance. Any peaceful species who wishes to join will receive our protection and support. We will not stand idle while the strong prey upon the weak. The Krath representative's voice boomed through the chamber. You dare to challenge the Empire. One lucky encounter does not make you a galactic power. Choi's smile widened slightly. The Thunderchild is not our only ship. While you watched our primitive rockets and dismissed us, we built a fleet. Would you like to see them? The holographic display shifted again, showing dozens of ships similar to the Thunderchild emerging from hidden shipyards throughout Earth's solar system. The chamber erupted in chaos as the implications became clear. Humanity had not just arrived on the galactic stage. They had prepared for this moment. The species you ignored has become the protector you failed to be, Choi concluded. The question now is not whether humanity belongs in galactic society, but whether galactic society is ready for humanity. As the council chambers descended into heated debate, Choi stepped down from the podium, knowing his message had been delivered. Humanity's introduction to galactic politics had been made not with violence or demands, but with a simple demonstration of their capabilities and their principles. The age of standing idly by while the powerful abused the weak was over. A new era in galactic history had begun, and at its center stood a species that had turned their isolation into strength and their principles into power. The engineering bay of the HSS Thunderchild hummed with an energy that had nothing to do with its powerful engines. Commander Jin Kim stood before a diverse group of alien engineers, each representing different species that had joined Earth's growing alliance. The massive chamber, filled with complex machinery and glowing displays, served as the perfect backdrop for this historic technical briefing. Commander Kim moved with quiet confidence as she guided her guests through the ship's vital systems. Her small frame belied the authority she carried as the Thunderchild's chief engineer. The aliens followed, their varied forms, from towering crystalline beings to floating orbs of energy, creating an unusual procession through the human vessel's corridors. What you're about to see has never been shared with non-human species before, Kim explained, leading them to a secure viewing chamber overlooking the main engine core. This is the heart of what makes the Thunderchild special. The chamber's windows revealed a sight that made even the most experienced alien engineers pause in wonder. The ship's core pulsed with a strange, beautiful light that seemed to defy the normal laws of physics. Waves of energy flowed in impossible patterns, creating a dance of power that none of them had seen before. "This is our hybrid drive system," Kim said, bringing up detailed schematics on the room's display screens. "We combined antimatter propulsion technology with gravitational wave manipulation. Most species believed these two power sources were incompatible. They were right, until we found a way to make them work together." A Teller engineer, their crystalline form shimmering with interest, stepped forward, but the energy patterns would tear themselves apart. "The mathematical models clearly show." "The models were incomplete," Kim interrupted gently. "We discovered that by introducing a third element, a controlled quantum field, we could create a stable matrix that allows both systems to enhance each other rather than conflict." She brought up more detailed diagrams, showing how the human engineers had solved what many species had considered an impossible problem. The aliens crowded around the displays, their previous skepticism giving way to growing excitement as they understood the implications. "The real breakthrough came when we stopped trying to force the systems to comply with expected behaviors," Kim continued. "Instead, we learned to work with the natural tendencies of each technology, finding ways to let them complement each other." Moving to another section of the engineering bay, Kim revealed the ship's adaptive shield system. The protective barriers shimmered with a faint iridescence, constantly shifting and adjusting even when no threats were present. "Our shields operate on similar principles," she explained. "They analyze incoming energy signatures in real time and reconfigure their frequency and phase to provide optimal protection. It's like having a defense system that learns and adapts during battle." A Moraxian scientist raised their appendage in question, but the power requirements for such a system would be enormous. "How do you maintain stability?" Kim smiled, activating another display that showed the ship's power distribution network. "That's where human innovation truly shines. We created an AI-assisted power management system that anticipates needs before they arise. It's constantly adjusting, shifting power where it's needed most, sometimes microseconds before it's actually required." The alien engineers exchanged glances, their expressions showing a mix of admiration and concern. One of them finally voiced what many were thinking. "This level of technological advancement, how did you achieve it so quickly? Your species only achieved spaceflight recently." Commander Kim's expression grew thoughtful. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to look at different pieces and see how they could work together in new ways. While other species focused on perfecting individual systems, we looked for connections between them. She led them to a final display, showing the evolution of human space technology. Every crashed alien ship, every recovered artifact, every piece of advanced technology we found. We didn't just study them in isolation. We looked for ways they could work together, ways they could become more than the sum of their parts. Like your species, a Lumini engineer observed, their form glowing softly. Humans seem to have a talent for bringing different elements together. Kim nodded. Exactly. Our history is full of examples of different cultures and ideas combining to create something new. We brought that same approach to our technology. Where others saw incompatible systems, we saw opportunities for synthesis. As the tour concluded, Kim showed them one final system, the Thunderchild's tactical computer. This might be our most important innovation. It doesn't just process information. It looks for patterns and connections that even we might miss. It's constantly learning, adapting, suggesting new ways to use our technology. The alien engineers spent hours examining the systems, asking questions, and gradually understanding that they were witnessing something unprecedented. Humanity hadn't just caught up with galactic technology. They had approached it from an entirely new direction. We're not here to keep these advances to ourselves, Kim said as the briefing concluded. Earth believes in sharing knowledge, in working together to create something greater than any one species could achieve alone. That's why we're showing you these systems, not to impress you, but to invite you to join us in pushing the boundaries of what's possible. As the alien engineers filed out of the engineering bay, their discussions already turning to possibilities for collaboration, Commander Kim watched them with satisfaction. The Thunderchild had shown the galaxy humanity's military capability, but this meeting had demonstrated something equally important: humanity's potential as partners in innovation. The ship's hybrid drive continued its mysterious dance behind her, a testament to what could be achieved when different technologies and different species work together in harmony. In showing their allies these secrets, humanity had taken another step toward their goal of creating a safer, more cooperative galaxy. The diplomatic chambers of the Thunderchild had never seen such a diverse gathering. The large room, designed to accommodate beings of all sizes and environmental needs, buzzed with activity as representatives from 20 different species came together. Some floated in special anti-gravity fields, others sat in temperature-controlled pods, while many simply used the standard seating arranged in a circular pattern. Political officer Sun-Hai Kang stood near the chamber's main display, reviewing her notes one final time. Captain Park moved among the delegates, greeting each with carefully researched gestures of respect appropriate to their cultures. The room's adaptive environment systems worked overtime, maintaining different atmospheric conditions in various zones to keep all delegates comfortable. The Krath Empire's ships have been spotted near the Proxima colonies, a reptilian delegate announced, their scales shifting color with anxiety. They claim to be conducting routine patrols, but we all know what that means. Similar stories emerged from other delegates. The Krath Empire had grown bolder in recent months, testing boundaries, pushing into neutral zones, and making threats barely disguised as diplomatic communications. Captain Park took his place beside Kang as she stepped forward to address the gathering. The soft lighting highlighted her calm demeanor as she activated the central holographic display. Honored delegates, Kang began, her voice clear and measured. We've heard your concerns. Each of you has suffered from Krath aggression. Each of you has watched as they expanded their territory through intimidation and force. But today, we offer something new. The display showed footage from the Thunderchild's recent encounters, not just the first battle protecting the Lumini transport, but subsequent actions defending other species from Krath incursions. Each clip demonstrated not just the ship's superior technology, but its crew's commitment to protecting the innocent while minimizing loss of life. We offer not just protection, Kang continued, but partnership. Together we can create something greater than the sum of our parts. Earth proposes the formation of a mutual defense alliance, but one that goes beyond military cooperation. The display shifted to show technical schematics. We will share our adaptive shield technology with all member worlds. Our engineers will help integrate it with your existing systems. But more importantly, we want to learn from you. Each of your species has unique insights, technologies, and approaches that could benefit everyone. A delegate from the crystalline Tiller race spoke up. The Krath Empire has 10 times the ships of any single species here. Even with Earth's advanced technology, how can we hope to stand against them? Captain Park stepped forward. The Krath rely on brute force and intimidation. Their tactics are predictable because they've never needed to innovate. But together, combining our different technologies and strategies, we can outthink them rather than trying to outgun them. The display showed simulations of combined fleet actions, demonstrating how ships from different species could work together, their various strengths complementing each other. The Lumini's advanced sensors paired with Earth's weapon systems. Taylor crystal technology, enhancing shield capabilities, each species contributing something unique to the whole. But this alliance isn't just about military power, Kang emphasized. We propose creating joint research facilities, establishing free trade zones, and building a diplomatic framework that gives every member an equal voice. The Krath Empire rules through fear. We will build something stronger. A coalition based on mutual respect and cooperation. The chamber filled with discussion as delegates considered the proposal. Questions came rapid fire. Who will command combined fleet actions? How will technology sharing be managed? What provisions are there for mutual defense? How will decisions be made? Kang and Park addressed each concern methodically, showing that Earth had thought through the practical details of making such an alliance work. They presented plans for rotating command structures, cooperative research protocols, and a council system where even the smallest member worlds would have a voice. A small luminescent delegate floated forward. The Krath will not take this lying down. They will strike hard at any who join this alliance. Which is why we must act quickly, Park replied. The Thunderchild's sister ships are already in position to protect potential member worlds. We can have defensive systems in place within days of a world joining the alliance. As the discussions continued, Kang noticed something remarkable happening. Delegates who had entered the chamber as worried representatives of threatened worlds began speaking with growing confidence. Species that had historically distrusted each other found common ground in their shared vision of resistance against tyranny. We can remain separate and vulnerable, Kang concluded, or unite and become strong. Earth extends this offer of alliance to all peaceful species who wish to join us. Together, we can create a galaxy where no empire can threaten the sovereignty of free worlds. The chamber erupted in sounds of approval, clicking mandibles, humming crystalline forms, and various other expressions of agreement from the assembled delegates. One by one, they stepped forward to signal their world's interest in joining the alliance. As the meeting concluded, Captain Park and Political Officer Kang watched the delegates depart, many of them already forming small groups to discuss cooperation between their worlds. They needed someone to take the first step, Park observed quietly, to show them that resistance was possible. Kang nodded, and to show them they weren't alone. She looked down at her display, where confirmations of alliance membership were already beginning to arrive from various worlds. The Krath Empire won't know what hit them, because they've never understood the power of true cooperation, Park added. They see alliances as tools of domination. They can't imagine different species working together as equals. The diplomatic chambers slowly emptied, but the energy of possibility remained. In a single day, the balance of power in the galaxy had begun to shift, not through force of arms, but through the power of unity and common cause. The coalition building had begun, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history. The warning signals flashed across every ship in the Alliance fleet as massive energy signatures appeared on their sensors. The Krath Empire had finally made its move, launching a vast armada of warships toward the Centauri Crossing, the vital trade route that connected many of the Alliance worlds. Aboard the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Park studied the tactical display with intense focus. Hundreds of Krath vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel, their black hulls blocking out the starlight behind them. The enemy fleet stretched as far as their sensors could detect. All Alliance vessels report ready for combat, Lieutenant Hayumli announced, her hand steady on her console despite the tension in her voice. We have 97 ships from 12 different species in formation. The combined fleet represented everything the Alliance stood for, vessels of all shapes and sizes, each bringing their own unique capabilities to the battle. Lumini sensor ships glided alongside Earth vessels, while Taylor crystal ships formed protective screens around powerful but slower Alliance battleships. Captain Park opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Captain Park. We face an enemy that believes in domination. We stand for something greater, the right of all species to live free from fear. Remember your training. Trust in each other. Today we prove that unity is stronger than tyranny. The Krath fleet's commander broadcast his own message, his harsh voice filling all frequencies. This is your final warning. Disperse your fleet and surrender your worlds to Krath authority, or be destroyed. You cannot hope to stand against our might. Park's response was simple. We do not bow to threats. All ships, battle formations. Execute Defense Pattern Alpha. The Alliance fleet moved with practiced precision, forming into groups that maximized each ship's strengths while covering others' vulnerabilities. The Thunderchild took the lead position, its advanced sensors already analyzing the Krath fleet's formation. They're moving to surround us, Tactical Officer Min Seo Yoon reported. Standard Krath encirclement tactics. Just as we expected, Park nodded. Signal the Lumini vessels to begin their sensor suites. Have the Teller ships ready their crystal matrices. The battle began with a massive volley from the Krath fleet. Thousands of energy beams and projectiles filling space, but the Alliance was ready. The Teller crystal ships activated their matrices, creating a web of deflection fields that scattered much of the incoming fire. What got through was absorbed by the combined shield technology that Earth had shared with its allies. Return fire, Park ordered. Targeted strikes only. Don't waste energy on their shields. Aim for the weak points our simulations identified. The Alliance fleet responded with precision attacks. Lumini sensor ships identified vulnerabilities in Krath shield patterns, while Earth and other Alliance vessels exploited these gaps with carefully timed shots. The Krath advantages in numbers and raw firepower began to matter less as the Alliance's superior coordination took its toll. Sir, Lee called out, detecting power surges in the enemy fleet. They're preparing to launch their new heavy weapons. The Krath vessels revealed massive cannon arrays, technology they had kept hidden until this moment. The weapons charged with ominous energy, threatening to overwhelm any known defense. But Park remained calm. Signal the Teller ships. Execute prism defense. The crystal ships moved into a new formation, their hulls resonating in harmony. As the Krath superweapons fired, the crystal matrix didn't just deflect the energy. It captured and redirected it, turning the enemy's own power against them. Multiple Krath vessels disabled. Yoon reported with satisfaction. Their own weapon signatures are being used to overload their shields. The battle continued for hours, a complex dance of attack and defense. The Alliance fleet took losses, but for every Alliance ship disabled, they knocked out 3 or 4 Krath vessels. The superior coordination and combined technologies of the Alliance proved more than a match for the Krath's brute force approach. Sir, Lee called out suddenly, detecting new energy signatures. More Krath ships incoming. A second wave of enemy vessels appeared, even larger than the first. The Alliance fleet was already taxed from hours of combat, their resources strained. Park didn't hesitate. All ships, initiate Strategy Omega. This is what we prepared for. The Alliance fleet suddenly split into smaller groups, each executing complex maneuvers that seemed to make no sense, until the Krath fleet moved to engage them. The smaller Alliance groups used the gravity wells of nearby stars and planets, slingshotting around them to gain tactical advantages. Ships that appeared vulnerable suddenly revealed hidden strengths as they coordinated their movements with incredible precision. "The Krath fleet is falling into disarray," Yoon reported. "Their rigid command structure can't adapt to our fluid tactics fast enough." The battle reached its climax as the Krath command ship moved to restore order to their forces. The massive vessel, nearly twice the size of the Thunderchild, powered up its main weapons array. "All ships," Park commanded, "concentrate fire on these coordinates. Time to show them why unity is our greatest weapon." Every Alliance vessel, acting as one, targeted the same point on the Krath flagship's hull. The combined firepower overwhelmed its defenses, causing a cascade failure that disabled the massive ship without destroying it. With their command vessel powerless and nearly a third of their fleet disabled, the remaining Krath ships began to retreat. The Alliance had won their first major battle, not through superior numbers or overwhelming force, but through cooperation and innovative tactics. As the enemy fleet disappeared into faster-than-light travel, cheers and celebrations erupted across the Alliance channels. But Captain Park remained focused on the larger picture. "Send medical and repair teams to assist all damaged vessels, Krath ships included," he ordered. "We'll show them that our strength lies not just in how we fight, but in how we treat even our enemies in victory." The Battle of the Centauri Crossing would be remembered not just as a military victory, but as the moment when the galaxy learned that a united front of different species, working together in harmony, could overcome even the greatest of threats. The Krath Empire had reached its breaking point, not against a superior force, but against the power of cooperation and shared purpose. The light of 3 nearby stars cast multiple shadows across the Thunderchild's tactical room as Tactical Officer Do-hyun Ryu outlined his bold strategy. The room's holographic display showed the complex gravitational patterns created by the triple star system, patterns that most military commanders would consider too dangerous to navigate. "The Krath fleet will expect us to engage them in open space," Ryu explained to the assembled Alliance commanders. "Their entire military doctrine is built around overwhelming force in direct confrontation, so we'll do exactly what they think is impossible." The display shifted to show the planned fleet movements. Small markers representing Alliance ships wove through the gravitational currents of the star system in intricate patterns that made several commanders shift uncomfortably in their seats. "These maneuvers are extremely risky," a Lumini commander observed, their form pulsing with concern. "The gravitational forces could tear our ships apart." Ryu nodded, "Which is exactly why the Krath will never expect it. Their rigid training tells them these zones are too dangerous for combat operations. We'll use that assumption against them." The plan called for the Alliance fleet to split into small groups, each using the complex gravitational fields of the triple stars to execute maneuvers that would appear chaotic to traditional tactical systems. The Thunderchild would coordinate the overall strategy, using its advanced computers to calculate safe passages through the gravitational turbulence. "Each ship will need to follow their designated course exactly," Ryu continued. "The margin for error is minimal, but the reward is worth the risk. We can catch the entire Krath fleet in a trap they won't even see coming." As the Alliance commanders studied the plan, Captain Park entered the tactical room. He had given Ryu full authority to develop this strategy, trusting his tactical officers' unconventional thinking. "The art of war," Ryu said, meeting the questioning looks of several commanders, "lies not in superior firepower, but in fighting in ways your enemy cannot comprehend. The Krath expect us to fight like them. Instead, we'll fight like us. Adaptable, innovative, unified." The plan was set in motion 3 days later. The Alliance fleet arrived in the triple star system ahead of the pursuing Krath armada. Each ship took its position, waiting for the enemy to arrive. The Krath fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel exactly where Ryu had predicted. Their formation was perfect, their numbers overwhelming, and they were completely unprepared for what happened next. All ships, execute Dance of the Stars, Ryu commanded from his tactical station on the Thunderchild's bridge. The name had started as a joke among the crew, but it captured the grace of what followed. Alliance vessels began moving in seemingly random patterns, diving into gravitational eddies that the Krath's tactical computers classified as no-go zones. The enemy fleet's formation began to break up as they tried to target the Alliance ships, which appeared to be flying erratically. "Their targeting systems are failing," Lieutenant Lee reported with satisfaction. "They can't get a lock through the gravitational distortions." The Krath responded exactly as Ryu had predicted. They split their fleet to chase down the apparently scattered Alliance forces. But each Alliance ship was following a carefully calculated course, using the gravitational forces to accelerate and maneuver in ways that conventional engines couldn't match. Phase 2, Ryu ordered. Begin the convergence. The seemingly chaotic movements of the Alliance fleet suddenly revealed their true purpose. Ships that appeared to be fleeing now curved back on impossible trajectories, using the star's gravity to slingshot them into perfect attack positions. The scattered Krath fleet found itself caught in a web of crossfire. "Their formations are broken," Hume announced. "Their command and control networks can't keep up with our movements." The Thunderchild led a decisive strike at the heart of the Krath fleet, its weapons taking advantage of the enemy's confusion. Other Alliance ships followed in its wake, each executing their part of Ryu's complex strategy flawlessly. "Their tactical doctrine has no protocol for this situation," Ryu observed as the battle unfolded. "They can't adapt fast enough." The Krath fleet's attempts to regroup were thwarted by the very gravitational forces they had been trained to avoid. Every time they established a new formation, Alliance ships would appear from unexpected directions, striking and vanishing back into the gravitational chaos. Multiple Krath vessels attempting emergency jumps, Lee reported. "Their calculations are off. The gravitational interference is too strong." Several Krath ships that attempted to flee found themselves torn apart by the very forces the Alliance fleet was using to their advantage. Others were forced to power down their engines to avoid the same fate, becoming easy targets for precision Alliance strikes. The battle lasted less than an hour, but its impact would be felt for years to come. The Krath fleet, which had never known defeat, found itself thoroughly outmaneuvered by an enemy that refused to fight according to conventional rules. As the last Krath vessels surrendered or retreated, Ryu finally allowed himself a small smile. "Send rescue ships to assist any damaged vessels," he ordered. "Even the Krath crews deserve our help." The aftermath of the battle proved as important as the victory itself. The Alliance's treatment of captured Krath crews, combined with the undeniable brilliance of their tactics, began to crack the foundation of Krath military culture. Stories spread through their ranks of an enemy that could turn the laws of physics themselves into weapons, yet still showed mercy to the defeated. In the following days, as Alliance engineers helped repair damaged Krath ships, Ryu wrote his official report on the battle. His concluding words would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. "The greatest victory is not in destroying your enemy, but in showing them a better way to fight. The Krath Empire's defeat came not from our weapons, but from their own inability to imagine that warfare could be anything other than brute force. In teaching them this lesson, we may have taken the first step toward lasting peace." The strategy that became known as the Dance of the Stars marked a turning point in the conflict. It demonstrated that the Alliance's greatest strength lay not in technology or numbers, but in its ability to think beyond traditional boundaries and work together in ways that no single species could achieve alone. The massive Krath homeworld loomed before the Coalition fleet, its orbital defenses bristling with weapons. The Thunderchild led the Allied ships not in an attack formation, but in a peaceful approach. Every vessel maintained powered-down weapon systems, taking a calculated risk to demonstrate their true intentions. Captain Park stood on the Thunderchild's bridge, looking at the planet that had given birth to an empire of conquest. Behind him, the combined fleet represented every species that had joined their cause. Former enemies now united in pursuit of peace. "Open a channel to the Krath High Command," Park ordered. "All frequencies, all languages." Lieutenant Lee worked at her console, ensuring the message would reach every corner of the Krath Empire. "Channel open, sir." Park took a deep breath before speaking. "This is Captain Jaiho Park of the Earth ship Thunderchild. We come not to destroy, but to offer a choice. Your fleets have been defeated. Your tactics have failed. Yet we stand before your world with our weapons cold." The bridge crew watched as Krath defense platforms tracked their movements, but held their fire. Park continued. "We could destroy you, as you would have destroyed others. Instead, we offer you a chance to join us in building something greater. Look at our fleet. Species that once fought each other now stand together. We offer the Krath Empire not surrender, but partnership." Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, the reply came. The Krath Supreme Commander's image appeared on the main screen, his usual arrogance replaced by cautious curiosity. "You speak of partnership," the commander said, "yet your fleet has crushed our best forces. Why should we trust this offer?" "Because we've already proven we don't need to destroy you to defeat you," Park replied. "Each battle has shown that cooperation is stronger than domination. Join us, and let your empire's strength serve a greater purpose than conquest." The Thunderchild's diplomatic chambers were prepared for the negotiations that followed. Representatives from every coalition species attended, including those who had suffered most under Krath aggression. Yet they came not seeking revenge, but reconciliation. The discussions lasted days. The Krath leaders struggled to understand a power structure not based on dominance and submission. But slowly, as they witnessed how the coalition species worked together, their perspective began to change. A young Krath admiral, watching Alliance crews cooperating on repair work, remarked, "We thought our strength lay in standing alone. We never imagined that true power could come from standing together." The peace treaty that emerged reshaped the galaxy. The Krath Empire would gradually transform into a member of the coalition. Its military might turn toward protection rather than conquest. Their expertise in shipbuilding and strategic planning would strengthen the alliance they had once sought to destroy. As the final documents were signed, Captain Park reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The Thunderchild had fired the first shots of the conflict, but more importantly, it had fired the last shots of peace. Months passed, and changes swept through the galaxy. The HFY Thunderchild took on a new role, serving as both a warship and a diplomatic vessel. Its crew began training mixed species teams, sharing Earth's innovative approaches while learning from their new allies. Captain Park stood on his bridge once again, but now looking out at a very different galaxy. Trade routes flourished where battles had once raged. Former enemy vessels now conducted joint patrols. The Thunderchild's mission had evolved from defending the weak to building bridges between cultures. During a diplomatic function aboard the ship, Political Officer Kang found Park watching the mingled crews of a dozen species working together seamlessly. "Did you ever imagine this when we first encountered the Krath?" she asked. Park smiled. "Humanity's greatest strength was never in our weapons or tactics. It was in our ability to bring diverse peoples together for a common cause. We didn't just win a war. We helped create a peace worth protecting." The Thunderchild continued its missions, exploring new regions of space and making contact with previously unknown species. Each encounter added new perspectives and capabilities to the growing alliance. The ship that had begun humanity's journey to the stars now led the way toward a future of cooperation and mutual understanding. Years later, academies across the galaxy would study the Thunderchild's story, not just for its military innovations, but for the lessons it taught about the power of unity and understanding. Species that had once seen only enemies in the stars now saw potential friends and allies. As Captain Park logged his final entry before retirement, he wrote, "The greatest adventure wasn't in the battles we won, but in the peace we built. The Thunderchild's legacy isn't measured in enemies defeated, but in hearts and minds changed. We showed the galaxy that the strongest force isn't the one that stands alone, but the one that brings others together. The ship continued its service, a living symbol of how far the galaxy had come. Its name became synonymous not with war, but with the possibility of peace through understanding. The human vessel that had shaken the galaxy had also helped heal it, proving that the greatest victories come not from destroying enemies, but from turning them into friends. And so, the story of the Thunderchild became more than a tale of humanity's first steps into a larger galaxy. It became a testament to the power of cooperation, innovation, and the unshakable belief that different peoples working together could achieve things that none could accomplish alone.